All right, everyone, we're back. Welcome back to another episode of Wall Street Rundown. I'm your co-host Billy. I got Wale with me. What's good, Wale?
Good evening, everyone.
Man, welcome to the Ceasefire Network. Remember, I was telling y'all, man, if you guys hear anything about ceasefire, anything about a deal, this stock is gonna rip. And boy, oh boy, like yesterday when, and I feel like, so I have a couple of thoughts. We'll talk about it a little bit. I mean, there's definitely was manipulation before the market closed, right? I think there was a lot of manipulation into making people think like this war is actually going to escalate, and then literally right as soon as the market closed, the deal ceasefire magically happened after hours after market close, of course. So I hope you have taken part in, even if you did a straddle or get you a call and get you a put on on any of the stocks. I mean, you would have made some good money today. But let's talk a little bit about it, man. The S&P actually climbed like almost 2.5%. I think almost at point it was like a 2.6 or something like that. It was up like crazy. Nasdaq was up at 2.8%. The Dow Jones was up at 2.85%. I mean, this is like crazy move that we've seen overnight. We've seen some pops, but then when the market opened, yeah, nothing really happened. You know what I mean? We're gonna trail sideways after that jump that we had overnight. Nothing really happened after that. I mean, I've seen some chatter on Twitter about people still fighting or whatever, but nothing really excitingly happened today to make the market go any higher. But if you look at all the stocks that we've been talking about, a lot of them have been jumping like crazy. Go look at all some of the names that we talked about a lot. All of them been up like crazy. But apart from that, man, the ceasefire, it looks like it's happening. It looks like it's I mean, even though Trump said that the pause on the bombing is only for 2 weeks, we'll see what happens after 2 weeks. If there's actually a deal going to be on the table, or we're going to go back into this whole back and forth and all this stuff. So again, it was just crazy for me to see how the stock was moving after hours once the deal was announced. So I hope you guys protect on that. Wale, what is your opinion on this whole deal, the market move and the ceasefire?
So I'll say this from a technical standpoint. If we look at the technicals, two very important things that happened that this move did do. Number one, reclaiming the 200-day moving average on SPY and on QQQ, which I felt was very important.
Yep.
Last week, we reclaimed the 50-week moving average after we dropped below it, and now we are trading well above that. And if you look at where SPY is kind of seeing resistance right now, the 20-week moving average on SPY and the 20-week moving average on QQQ are kind of holding as resistance right now. And if I look at IWM is over the 20-week, over the 200-day, and it never dropped below the 50-week. So out of the three, IWM to me is the strongest one from a technical
Technical. Yep.
basis. Now, the only thing that worries me is this whole ceasefire stuff just sounds real messy. Like
Very.
it sounds real messy, and I don't know what to make of it based on what the headlines. So Iran says that the ceasefire um, or their proposal is this 10-point proposal for them to for the U.S. and Israel to eventually agree on. I think the White House secretary today basically said that that 10-point proposal was basically thrown into the trash. That there's no way that the president would accept this proposal. Iran is saying that Israel is still attacking Lebanon, and they're saying that Lebanon and Israel, that beef was not part of the deal. So I have no idea what to make of it from a headline standpoint.
Right.
The only thing I'll say is that time will tell. So what I do like to do, I always say this, on days where we see strong rallies, where is most of the money flowing? And if we look at where a lot of the money was flowing today, I will say this, that the Max 7 was okay. Like, I wouldn't say there was nothing like super impressive. Nvidia was up 2%, Apple up 2%, Google up 3, Amazon up 3, Microsoft barely up at all. Meta
Barely
was up
moved.
6%, 6.5%. Tesla was down today. Um, but one of the things I will say is if you look at all the indexes, the one index that basically doubled the performance of SPY, look at EEM. EEM was up almost 6%.
The emerging markets, yes.
So in my mind, that tells me institutional buyers still feel their international investments and overseas investments still have more potential.
More room, yeah.
You look at TSM, TSM was up freaking 5.96%. I don't know if we talked about this name on the show, but I've given it to my investment group. Tokyo Electron was
Yep.
up 10% today. So that's what I'm kind of scoping right now is hopefully we get to a point where we don't have to worry about all the headlines. And once we get past all of that, those are going to be the areas where I would be looking for deploying, long-term opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the VIX came down 18% today, but the VIX is still trading at 21.
20 something. Yep. Yep.
So I don't know. We don't know how this is all going to play out, and I'm not going to sit here and make any predictions. But from a technical standpoint, things look good for now. Can that change? Yes. And I guess we'll just have to wait until the headlines tell us otherwise. But
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I'm not in the I'm not in the market of trying to guess what the White House is going to do or what Iran's going to do because, you know, yesterday it was looking like Trump was about to just blow Iran off the map, and then I guess it was Taco Tuesday, so we should have we should have knew what to expect. I saw your Instagram
I was,
story.
bro,
Oh my
okay.
God, that was so funny. Taco Tuesday. And I think
Yeah.
someone in our group, I posted in the group, I was like, because the way he was talking, I was like, does he have the balls to use nuclear warfare? Like, does
No.
he? And everybody was like saying, nah. And I was like, you know what? I'll be surprised if nothing actually happens.
Yep.
And this was at 6:28 a.m. And Lord behold, once we got to the end of the
Yep.
market,
Nothing.
ceasefire.
Yep. Nothing. Nothing. I think whatever deal that gonna happen is gonna happen about because of that whole strait. I think what the US want is to get a percentage of whatever Iran is getting from that strait. So I think they're gonna turn that whole strait into a business, basically, honestly, where they can
I would
extract some
I,
money out of it.
I would not be surprised. I
Yeah.
would not be surprised.
I think that's going to be part of the agreement. We'll leave you alone if you give us if you let us operate that straight together. There's a whole interesting story about the strait. If you guys get a chance to look at it, go research it. I mean, it's very amazing that he who controls port of entry and exit in any form of water body, you control that region. Like you literally, everybody who goes through there will pay you money. Think about it. If you want to get into the club, whoever's at the door, however much you're charging, if the club is hot, you gotta pay that money to go inside. You know what I mean?
hmm
So that's basically what they're controlling. They're like, hey, we control this straight, and if you guys want to get passed through it, you gotta pay us.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's gonna end up happening, honestly, in my opinion, at least.
And I know there's, it's like other strategic areas, like the Panama Canal is a strategic area for
That's
people to
another
get
one.
through.
Yep.
There's another one in Egypt. I don't know what the name of that one
Yep.
is.
It's by Suez Canal.
Suez
Suez.
Canal. Yep.
Yep.
Suez Canal. Yep. That's another strategic point. And there's another one by Yemen. That's
Yep.
another strategic point. So, for countries that are very dependent on importing their energy from other countries, it's one of those things where that area of the world is such a hub for transportation of that.
Yep.
And when things get bad, this is the result that we see. So we'll see if we get it straightened out. But like I said, I'm not holding my breath at all. I am not holding my breath at all because, like I said, we're at a point where it's like a he said, she said type of
Yep.
ordeal, and
Yep.
we just sitting here like, okay, who do we believe?
Yep. Everybody's coming up with their own version of who said what. And
Correct.
even leading up to the ceasefire, you can hear like the chatter going back and forth between the U.S. and Iran for a
Hmm.
long time. Iran was like, we're not hearing directly from the U.S., so we don't know what the heck Donald is talking about.
Hmm.
And then yesterday, I don't know if you guys see it. They like later during the day, somebody from Iran basically said like the talk is progressing. I was like, oh shoot, they made some contact somehow. You know, they actually finally admitted that there's actually talks going on. And I think that's when I was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy some calls on on Spy just to see how the market moves afterward. You know what I mean? And then yeah, lo and behold, that whole talk came through, and it was a glorious day in the market, as they call
Yeah.
it. But let's move on. Let's move on to this Intel and Tesla joint partnership, man. So, man, bro, we've been telling you guys about this for how long? We gave you
I
guys
think I
we
think
gave
it's
you the
been over.
story.
I think it's been over a year. It's been
Yeah,
over a year.
but we've been beating it in the head. It's like one, Intel is a very um strategic company when it comes to the US. It's a US made company. The US is not just gonna let it go. And then the government came in investing in it. That should have been the clue. Like, hey, the government's investing in it, that's gonna be a big thing. But to go from $19 to 58, almost $60, come on, man. That's some crazy move, man. Like, I really hope people have jumped in and got some piece of it. So let's talk a little bit about that deal, man, and let the people know like what exactly the deal entails and all that.
Yeah. So Tesla is in the works of creating this terafab AI chip complex,
Yep.
and Tesla, SpaceX, and all of their robotic, you know, infrastructure has chosen Intel to help be a part of that process. So, and from what I'm hearing, it says much broader vision includes factories tied to chips for cars, humanoids, robots, and AI data centers. And Intel being a one of the few chip manufacturer businesses, and I'm assuming the only US based manufacturer that can kind of deliver on some of the things that um, what do you call it, that Tesla is looking for. Looks like the partnership makes sense. So, and it says that Intel's Foundry in 2025 still posted an operating loss, which was still good. I mean, which was not necessarily good, but hopefully this high profile partnership will help get them out of the mud. So I still feel that this is still a long term story for Intel. And I still feel that the execution needs to continue. But I feel that they've taken all of the right steps to kind of turn the ship around. Now, we were talking about this stock when it was way below $20. We're sitting at what, 58, $59?
Yep.
I'll be honest with you. I'll say it again. If I told you a year from now that I would
At this
have a
point.
200% game at this point, I'd be like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said that this would be a longer term story, and
Yeah,
we've got
I think we're even compared to the GE story. We're like,
correct. Yeah.
it's gonna take some
Yep.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Thought it was going to take some time, but things have progressed faster than we thought it would.
Yep.
And again, they're pressing all of the right buttons, but they still, to me, they still have a lot of work to do. They
Mhm.
still have a lot of work to do from an operating standpoint, but cutting cost, strategic partnerships, you know, all of those things are starting to, hit the bottom line. So we'll see how this eventually turns out in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years for Intel. But I'm very, very happy with what I've seen. Hit a new 52-week high today,
Yep.
which is to me is amazing. And again, we just got to hopefully continue that they keep pressing the right buttons and moving forward. Now, I will say this: I think I was talking about Nike, right? Nike is a company that has fallen on hard times, kind of like
Yep.
Intel
Yep.
has fallen on hard times. Somebody was asking me, would I buy Nike for a turnaround story? Me personally, I would say no,
Yeah.
even though it's kind of a similar story, good brand, very dominant for years and years and years, and it has fallen on hard times. The reason why I would not is if you look at the landscape of where Intel plays in a very strategic landscape where there's only a few players. that
Yep.
are true chip manufacturers. You also have to understand that we are at a time where chip manufacturing is very, very important right now, right? Most of the biggest chip manufacturer is TSM. Samsung is another manufacturer. Both of those companies are overseas.
Mhm.
Intel is one of the very few that plays in that sandbox that is a US based company. They're also a B2B client, even though there is some B2C because I guess they make chips for computers, but to me that's still more so B2B. Nike doesn't necessarily have that strategic landscape.
Right. Right.
there's so many shoemakers out there, right? There's OnCloud, there's Adidas, there's no strategic moat that Nike has outside of brand awareness.
Right.
Nike is also a B2C
You
company.
see.
And me personally, right now, I just don't like B2C. So could they turn it around? Yes. Is it a stock that has fallen on hard times that could, again, if they can execute and do the right things, possibly. But I just don't feel that they're in a strategic place the way Intel was
Right. Right.
when they fell off. So that's my answer. Like, Intel's business was broken, but I was just looking, okay, if this is a company where based on where they're playing and based on where the world is now, if I were to take a gamble, I would take a gamble on Intel 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10 versus Nike because of where they play in that sandbox.
Yep. 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 And I agree with you, man. Like, if you guys don't know what BDC is, like business to consumer, basically, like business to sell product to consumers. These, I mean, if you look at our landscape right now, the use case scenario does not support necessarily investing in Nike now. I'm not saying not ever. I'm just saying like right now,
Hmm.
there's no catalyst. There's no specific use case right now that will help me see the vision of Nike for the next 5, 10 years. Like,
Correct. Exactly. Yep.
you can't really tell right now where they are in terms of like if I invest in them right now, I see certain things they put in place to get us there, right? Intel is a little different, kind of like what they was talking about is what field they play in, you know what's hot right now in terms of like all the chips manufacturing, all the AI development that we have, and all that stuff. So the use case, the atmosphere right now supports us focusing on that. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So,
There's demand for that
yep,
business. Even though
yep,
the operation is not where it should be, there is still demand for that business.
yep.
You can't sit here and tell me that there's demand for Nike shoes. I can't build a case for that.
You can't.
I cannot build a case that there is a demand for Nike shoes at this point.
Yep, yep.
So to me, what I think eventually will be a catalyst for Nike is that the stock will get so cheap that people will just say it's undervalued
Right,
and there
right.
will be buyers. Eventually it will find buyers. But I mean, we're looking at a $43 stock right now. Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
And it's probably gonna go up. It's probably gonna go down a little bit more too. I mean, looking at the chart right now,
yeah,
it
I don't see
looks
any help anytime soon.
it looks ugly. If you look at the chart, man, look at the yearly chart. They've been dropping since 2022. They haven't had any break at all.
Yeah.
Since 2022, that chart just been go look at it. 5 years of just downward pressure on them, you
Yeah.
know?
And
So
they have broken the COVID low, which was
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, yeah.
So
But look,
definitely this has to do with demand because AI wasn't at its peak even in 2022. We're still talking about AI like relatively not a lot. So this is literally based on demand. Um, Donald Trump wasn't in the office in 2022, so you can't blame this on tariffs either. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like there's so much stuff that you can look into this. Like, yeah, the business of that is just, I don't want to say it's broken, but it's getting there. It's
I think the business is broken. I think the business is broken.
it's this, yeah. If they don't do anything to turn this story around, I think we either gonna sit here for a long time trying to figure out what Nike's gonna do, But at this point, I don't see any forward progress, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, because when I just look at some of the things um that Nike has just kind of just fallen off a cliff. Let me go back to my notes. For a mature company, right? Nike's not a it's not a new company. When you see a call it six call it $5 billion revenue loss over the last couple of years, that's a huge red flag. Like Billy said, demand. That's a huge red flag. Then you start looking at operating profits, right? Cut in half.
Yeah.
Again, that's demand. Gross margins continue to drop. So when you see a mature company like that that's been around for such a long time start to drop like that, those are to me those are just signs of a broken business.
Yeah.
And again, the one thing Nike can hold on to is brand equity, right? The brand
Mm-hmm.
is familiar. They've got, loyal customers, but from a growth perspective, as the future moves, I don't see it. I don't see how you can build a case for that now. I just don't. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
37.75 is the 400 month weekly, no, the 400 month moving average on the monthly.
That's nasty.
37.75. If it gets there, maybe I might, close my eyes and see what happens. But that's the next level I'd be looking at right now. So
That's
because
nasty.
everything else just looks bad for Nike. So
That is nasty. I'll probably go lower than that, honestly. I'll probably go down to around 35, actually. That's just
ooh,
me.
ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll probably go down to 35.
Yeah. So I to
That's
me,
nasty.
I wouldn't be a buyer here. And like I said, I could be wrong, but I personally wouldn't be a buyer here.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, again, like you said, it has brand equity. Hopefully they can figure out a way to turn it around. Maybe somebody will
Uh-oh.
buy them out. Maybe somebody
Did
will.
you lose me?
Yeah, I lost you a little bit. I think we lost Wale. Wale, you still there? There you go. You're back now.
Okay, I think we got disconnected.
You're good. You're good. Yeah, but like I was saying, like Nike's is no, it's falling on hard times, just like like what we were talking about earlier. It's just the economy, the atmosphere does not support us like actually investing in it right now. But let's move on to another exciting news, man. If you guys are sleeping on the rock, if you don't know what Claude is, if you don't know what Anthropic is, please, please, please look it up. Claude, Anthropic, who is the company that makes Claude and other AI agents and all that stuff, they have partners. They have partnered with, I believe, with Nvidia, Microsoft, and other tech giants to be able to do cybersecurity partnership with them. I mean, this is huge, right? It is one of those things that we're talking about. A lot of a lot of cybersecurity companies. I mean, we talked about this too. There might be some consolidations of cybersecurity companies, in our opinion, and I think part of that is going to be the speed of how AI can change how cybersecurity is being done.
Yep.
One of the biggest thing is you can deploy an agent that can do a job of, let's say, 10 cybersecurity analysts. You know what I mean? So it can go actually find vulnerability. It can analyze what the vulnerability is. It can suggest what needs to be fixed. It can kind of look out there and see and be able to track if there's any penetration point in your software. If there's any vulnerability within your software that need to be looked at. If there's any DDoS attacks or any of those are stuff that, kind of like cybersecurity actually kind of pay attention to. If you go to your company, right, if you work for another big corporation, even if you work for a small corporation, I can guarantee you have some type of cybersecurity company that's managing your network, managing your software. making sure that things are correct, making sure there's no attack going against you. We deal a lot with that in the healthcare world. We are getting attacked on a second by second basis. I'm gonna tell you guys this: the healthcare world is one of the biggest places where there's this always constant attack that's happening. But this partnership with Microsoft, Nvidia, and all these other companies, I mean, I feel like it's gonna be huge for those big giant companies to help defend them, not just against normal people, but actually against AI powered cyber attacks. Believe it or not, just same way you can use AI agents to help stop attack, you can use it to help generate attacks. And they are
Hmm.
very smart, very adaptable. They will learn, you know what I mean? So now you're gonna have AI fighting AI rather than somebody developing a cyber security. I mean, somebody developing like a ransomware that uses AI, and then you got a person trying to keep up with it. You know what I mean? So I think that's what the world is moving towards, and unfortunately, that's going to mean a lot of consolidation. It might actually means loss in jobs and all this stuff. But let's talk about that, man, because I don't think that's something new that we actually gonna bring into the subject right now.
Correct. So remember earlier, I mean, coming into this year, right? Everybody was saying how AI was going to replace software and
Yep.
AI is going to kill the software business. And a lot of these software companies, like your ServiceNow, your CRM, your Adobe's, they got hit hard. But one of the things that we brought up is that cybersecurity is a mission critical system. And now what is happening with this partnership with Anthropic is that now some of these cybersecurity companies will be able to detect things and solve things at faster efficiencies and speeds. One name that we've talked about plenty of times on this show was Palo Alto Networks. And Lord behold, that is one of the companies that was named in this partnership. In our investor group, I think after the earnings report, Palo Alto Networks dropped to about what, 100, I think it was below $140 a share. And that's when I was telling people, it's like, this would probably be a level where I'd start getting, what do you call it? Not necessarily bullish, but I would start looking at being a buyer at this level. And now I'm looking at my cost basis. I think my cost basis is 139.39.
Mhm.
Now Palo Alto Networks is well above, a 20% gain.
Yep.
So from a, how should I put it? From a sector standpoint, I think I do agree that we could see more consolidation for companies who may not be able to justify their pricing or what they do, right? But for companies that have large moats that drive mission critical workflows, right?
Mhm.
Because again, if your software goes out and you are at the ransom of a freaking, cyber thief, your business shuts down.
Right.
So you have to be able to find the technology and find ways to be able to deploy solutions at faster speeds. And they said that Anthropic was able to find bugs that have been that nobody was able to find for decades. So to me, I think cyber and AI are that's a hand fit and glove type of industry, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Um, Again, there will be winners and losers, but I think Palo Alto Networks to me is going to be one of the bigger winners. I think CrowdStrike is another company we've talked about on this show that I think is going to be a big winner. There's some
Yep.
smaller names out there that I think will also be winners as well. So long term, those to me are that's if you're going to be in a SaaS investment, in my opinion, cybersecurity is the place you want to. I keep saying this. That is the area of SaaS that I want to be in. You know, I don't know about Workday. I don't know about ServiceNow. I don't know about CRM. I'm not saying those are bad companies, but I don't know if I trust that part of the SaaS world compared to cybersecurity.
Yep. 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 So again, it's gonna be interesting to see how, like, in the next coming year or two, how this actually gonna affect. Maybe I doubt it's even gonna take a year and two, honestly, for us to be able to see some changes in the whole cybersecurity world. So I'll just be very, very mindful that we are probably going to see, again, consolidation. I hope we don't see any companies shut down, but who knows? We shall see, man. AI is changing the whole everything that's can be automated is definitely being changed. So it's going to be interesting to see all of that. Interesting enough, I was reading some of the findings. So actually, one of the entropic um, cybersecurity that got deployed, it detected flaws in every major operating system in web browser. Like it found flaws, and it even found one software that has a bug that was 27 years old,
I heard about that.
and another that was 16 years old. Like that is crazy. You know what I mean? That is crazy. Because you guys gotta know too, is like when it comes to cyber attacks, some of those hackers, they might find a vulnerability, but they don't exploit it right away. Like these
Mm,
guys are literally real patient. They will probably like maybe put like a ransomware or something there, right? And that ransomware only get triggered when a specific set of instruction happens, right? So think about like a ransomware that put on your computer that only gets triggered if you click on a specific icon on your computer. You know what I mean? That gets triggered, right? It's not gonna get triggered just because you use your computer. Um,
mm,
think about some ransomware that only gets triggered if you click on an email that comes to your email. That's the only time it gets triggered, right? If you don't click on it, nothing happens. It just sits there. So, um, for a bug to be able to detect, for an AI to be able to detect those type of vulnerabilities, and probably even able to offer a solution on how to fix it, right? That's just crazy, man. You know how many people you got to use to be able to find those type of vulnerabilities? Like people do that all the time. There's the scans, all of that stuff. So again, this is probably just gonna make cybersecurity a lot easier to manage for certain companies, but it's also gonna
hmm.
make it a lot difficult because now you have to keep up with all the attacks that comes with that also. So we shall see, man. It's gonna be interesting. Let's move to some of the economic calendar for next week. The biggest thing I'm watching for is actually tomorrow. PCE, core PCE is coming out tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. So this is going to be very, very interesting to keep an eye on. It's gonna, if you guys know PCE, I think is the Fed preferred um, measure, right? So the Fed actually likes that a lot more because it strips out food and energy and be able to focus on clean stuff. So again, keeping an eye on that to see how the market react to it. I I don't know, man. Based on what we're seeing out there, I think we might get a hotter number than last reading. But again, I'm not really sure what's gonna happen with that one because it's very tricky with this one. Because yeah, I don't know what any inputs on that at all, Wale.
I think the only one, if PCE is tomorrow, isn't CPI also coming Friday?
CPI on Friday. Yep.
Friday. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think even this is what I also say is that even if this whole ceasefire thing gets resolved, to me, there are still underlying cracks in the market
Mm-hmm.
that we have to be aware of because now you have to look at, okay, did this spike in energy prices, is this something that's going to be a longer lasting issue, or is this just going to be a one-time supply shock that we can eventually, what's the word that the Fed used, transitory,
Yeah.
where we can in the next, over 3, 4, 5 months we get over it. Is it something that really, really, really becomes sticky? We're not going to know, and only time will be able to tell that. Private credit, everybody's saying private credit is not at a point where it's systemic risk so far. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Bond spreads are still elevated, but we've come down out of the danger zone that we had gotten to a couple weeks ago. So I'm looking at the bond market to see, are we de-risking moving forward, or do I still need to be a little bit concerned? And I would
Yep.
still
Yep.
say that, if you're optimistic, about the ceasefire and things being resolved, I would say take caution. That's all I would say. So,
Yep. Yep.
you know, don't sit there and think that we've hit the bottom. We might have. I don't know. I can't predict it. But don't get overly excited because the ceasefire is not the only thing that the market is pricing in.
Right.
We also have to worry about, again, I still think unemployment may be a issue if it continues to move higher. So we'll see. I think patience and diligence and not trying to be the hero to call the bottom. I think, just let things play out and just and leave it at that.
Yep. Yep. So I mean, the geopolitical stuff it's not over yet. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys got to keep an eye on that. Like, there's still conversation going. It can be derailed at any moment. So, again, making sure that you keep your mind, you be mindful of that. What's going on in that sector? As while they mentioned, there's private credit that we have to worry about. There's unemployment we have to worry about. There's some economic stuff that we still have to worry about. So the the story still is not clear into what exactly is going to drag the market down. The good thing is, even though those things are out there now, investors still kind of seem a little bit more on the positive side. The
Hmm.
biggest drop that we've seen, maybe like over the past, maybe like the past couple of weeks, we've seen some really sharp drops. But overall, I feel like investors are still kind of optimistic in terms of like where to invest and stuff. Now, the focus is still very, 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 very focused. If you look at across all the sectors, not every sector is moving the way everything else is moving. So again, keeping an eye on how the um, the war is affecting what's going on, the involvement of the U.S., the private market sector, the unemployment, all of those numbers are going to be very, very important in the end to make sure that you keep an eye on those numbers. Now, short term volatility, long term, as we know, you just got to keep dollar cost averaging into a specific sector to be able to make it, to be able to make your returns on your investment. One of the biggest things I wanted to tell you while it was Aklo, you won't believe who bought Aklo. Kathy.
Oh, Kathy Wood. Oh man, we might be doomed. We might be doomed.
Kathy actually bought some Aklo, bro. I was like, yo.
No, we might be doomed.
I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I saw that she bought some Aklos, man, at that drop. She actually bought it at a really good price. It was like 40, 48, I think, 45 or something like that. So she actually caught like a good bottom before we saw this spike. So I don't know, man. We'll keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, we got to keep an eye on that one, man. We got to keep an eye on that one.
Yeah. With that being said, let's move on, man. I don't know what if you got any last minute advice you want to give the people
Only
before we
thing I
close
will
out here for the day.
say is there are some big IPOs coming up this year, possibly, right?
Yes.
There's some big IPOs coming up. We got SpaceX, we got possibly Anthropic, we also got possibly OpenAI.
Airport AI also. Yep.
I will say this: don't have to rush on day one. Don't have to rush day one. There will be a lot of hype around these names. Do your due diligence and study the S1 and look for potential red flags. I just got an email and it's talking about OpenAI's IPO. And I just want to give you something because right now, as public investors, right, we're not privy to some of those the private conversations that some of these
Right.
institutional investors um, are that they have, right? But before you go public, you got to show your cards.
Yep.
Listen to this. This is about OpenAI. The AI executives are saying that OpenAI is expected to lose around $85 billion in 2028. That's a huge cash burn.
That's crazy.
That's a huge cash burn. And if you look at it, I mean, their cash burn looks like it's going to continue to accelerate until maybe 2030.
That's crazy.
So, They're going to go public. They're going to say that this is our valuation, but the market will eventually price what the company is really worth.
Yeah.
And it might be one of those names that might come down over some time before it grows into that valuation. Because can we say that the market knows how to truly price a pure AI company? And I will say the answer is no, because we don't really have one, right? You got companies like Facebook and you got Google that kind of play in the AI space, but this is a pure AI company. And I guess what we'll have to see is when Anthropic goes public, I think they're probably going to go public first, how the market reacts with them and what their books look like. So do your due diligence, man, because trying to jump on it right out the gate sometimes doesn't always work.
Right.
Sometimes if you're patient, you might get a better entry. So don't feel the anxiety to have to jump out once they go public day one of trading.
Right. Right.
Sometimes patience can work in your favor. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. No urgency. I mean, even within, because what is the closeout period for some of those stocks? Is 90 days, 60 days? I don't know
I
how
think
long they.
90 or 100 days. It'll be listed in the S1.
Yeah.
So, there are lockup periods that when they expire, some of these institutional guys will say, "All right, here's our time to exit and sell more."
Mhm.
So, and I really think that some of these names that have been private for so long that these institutional investors have um, been in and they're looking for an exit, I think after when the lockups come up, I think they're going to dump. I
Yeah.
think they're going to dump. That's
Yeah.
that's that's my that's my that's my hot take.
Yeah. 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 Especially especially if those ones that have like their money tied up for the past like 10 years maybe on those in this company, like they're ready to cash out.
Yeah.
So
So that's just my hot take. So I could be wrong, but I think that we could see more shares flood the market once those lockups expire.
don't doubt it. But overall, we definitely have some big boys about to IPO. Hopefully they all IPO this year so we can see next year how the stocks moves. But like I said, overall, like it's gonna be some interesting big names that's gonna be coming over here. So with that being said, that's it for this Wednesday edition of Wall Street Rundown. I mean, like I will say, man, if you got value from this, make sure you guys stay tapped in. We do this every week, trying to break down the market and see what actually moving and all that stuff. So hopefully this is helping you guys stay disciplined and stay focused. If you guys need anything from us, please make sure you must message us on Instagram. You can leave notes on some of those videos. If you have any questions, please just make sure you guys send it to us. With that being said, we appreciate your time. As always, stay disciplined, stay focused, stay consistent. We'll talk to you guys on Friday.